Hello everyone, this is Kory. As always, we talk about the good stuff, the bad stuff, and then I give you my opinion and tell you whether I think it's worth it. I review every game I play, so make sure to subscribe.
And this is the part where you fucking subscribe. Because if you don't... Mom! Turn off the fucking lights!
So let's get right into the good stuff. Ven VR Adventure is basically Crash Bandicoot in VR. It's a VR platformer which brings you through 12 levels, split between 3 different worlds. Each world has different enemy types and environments to explore, and can be accessed in your newly acquired ship, which oddly sounds like it's landing on a hard ground surface, and it's clearly hovering in space. So, yeah. So, what do you do in Ven VR Adventure? Well, Ven is set to save his planet from invaders, yep, aliens, and Bruce Nelson is the antagonist, and he wants the magic which Ven's world possesses.
This is probably why Bruce Nelson has come here, to collect runes and enslave the planet's indigenous population.
As Bruce Nelson terrorizes Ven's planet, you are jumping and slashing through enemies with Ven in each level you complete to save the world and rescue Ven's companions. And these companions are usually just hanging out as if their planet hasn't been invaded by aliens. I first found this odd, but the game actually tells you that Ven's people find weapons useless because they live in such harmony, which means they must be ignorant of war and don't understand such conflict. Their ignorance is actually kind of sad, because one day I wish humans had this same level of ignorance when it comes to war, because that would mean we are living at peace. Was that too deep? Anyway, let's move on. So let's talk about the controls. You use the left thumbstick to move around, right thumbstick to turn camera angles, and there's a button for jump and a button for slashing your weapon. You can double jump by pressing the jump button twice, and you can perform a combo attack to smash the ground by jumping and then holding the attack button while in the air. There are various enemy types which all have different ways of attacking you, which keeps things quite interesting. When starting the game, you have the choice between 3 difficulty settings, which can also be adjusted in the middle of your playthrough, so don't worry about choosing a difficulty that's too hard. The jump puzzles are pretty basic, with a few challenging sections. Throughout each level, there are runes you collect, similar to something like the rings in Sonic, and you have to find and rescue Ven's companions along the way. To progress to further worlds, you must collect enough companions to proceed, so keep an eye out for them. In Ven VR Adventure, I absolutely loved each environment, and found that every level had its own unique touch to make it feel fresh and new. This made playing through levels a breeze, and it kept me interested to see what surprises the next level holds. There was great use of VR and interesting perspectives, and they definitely had fun with scenes which introduce you to bosses. And I didn't run. There's plenty of replay value if you enjoy speedruns, and even if you don't, you can go back through each level to 100% the game, which will give you quite a few more hours of gameplay. The soundtrack and sound effects are done very well, with some minor issues. In the beginning, when you're introduced to Ven, he gives you a fist bump, which is fun and interactive, but they failed to add any sound or haptic feedback in the controllers when the fist bump is complete. This has the entire interaction feeling empty. Moss is a great example of how an interaction like this should have been done. And this demonstrates how something so little as an audio cue or haptic feedback when doing something is incredibly important. And this brings me to the bad stuff. I bet you didn't even notice the sound effect that I added because it just felt like it fits. Let me play that back again without any sound effects to demonstrate how empty Ven's fist bump felt. Alright, so the voiceover work for the antagonist, Bruce Nelson, is pretty cheesy. So is his name. I mean, his name is Bruce Nelson, so I guess you can't really expect much. But it's always a disappointment when there's either bad voice acting or poor sound design.
I was waiting for you.
And I think I made a good demonstration as to why audio is so important. There are some instances where the audio is exaggerated and doesn't make sense, and some areas where sound just doesn't exist. The soundtrack is great though, I just found inconsistencies with the sound effects. The smooth turn option didn't work for me when playing on my index, and I was only able to use snap turning. I'm sure this bug will be addressed, but it's an issue for me nonetheless. There is smooth locomotion in this game as you follow Ven throughout the stage, and this is all automatic and out of your control. So if you're prone to motion sickness, then this may affect you. Speaking of movement, you're set on a one-way path with Ven, and if you miss something or want to go back in a level, then you'll have to restart the entire level. Once you move forward, there is no going back, and this can cause issues if you missed a pickup item. Fortunately, most items are in plain sight and not too difficult to find within each level. Lastly, Ven VR Adventure often has you looking straight down, and with a nearly 2-pound weight on the front of your head, this can cause neck pain. And this is incredibly poor camera positioning by the devs. Your neck is only made to handle the weight of your head, and when using VR, it's most comfortable to keep a neutral head position. But Ven VR does the opposite, and forces you to tilt your head down. The added weight of a VR headset really puts a lot of stress on your neck, and personally, it gave me neck pain. If they just placed the camera in better position so you're next to Ven instead of literally looking straight down at your crotch, then this wouldn't be such an issue. Unfortunately, quite often, you're left having to look directly down, which leads to neck fatigue that gets painful if you have longer sessions. This is a major oversight in their development, and it's incredibly disappointing because this prevented me from continuing to play because my neck started to hurt. VR already struggles to keep people playing for longer sessions, and unfortunately, Ven VR Adventure doesn't make it easier. VR is still very new to developers, and we are all learning what works and what does not. Hopefully, VR standards improve over time, because right now, there are very few VR games that do things right. So, is it worth it? Ven VR has great potential if they fix some of the issues, such as poor camera movement, awkward camera angles that have you looking straight down that ends up hurting your neck, and some sound design flaws, including poor voice acting lines by the main antagonist. However, it's an incredibly beautiful world with a great soundtrack, and the art team did an amazing job. Unfortunately, there are some major issues with the camera design, which actually gave me neck pain. If this is an issue for you, like it was for me, then buy Moss instead. It's a very well-polished game with incredible voice acting and an amazing story experience. I already played Moss, so if you want to check out my review, I'll give a link in the description down below. If you enjoy jump puzzle platformers, then you may enjoy Ven VR Adventure. Just know that you will probably end up with neck pain due to the poor camera positioning. This is all just my opinion though, and I'm curious if you think Ven VR Adventure is worth it. Let me know in the comments down below. I post new videos every week, so if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when I release new videos.
Do it.
Liking this video helps a ton and shows your support, and if you want to know what's on my mind, then follow me on Twitter. Links are in the description down below. As always, make sure you think for yourself, which means question yourself, do what makes you happy, and I'll see you all next time.